Welcome back to Crossthread Garage and Salvage. I'm Steve, this is my daughter Caitlin, and unfortunately, due to totally foreseeable circumstances, well within my control, we messed up last week.
Again.
We've decided this cab is way too high. So this week we're notching out the back of the cab so we can set it back down where it needs to be, finally get this front clip mounted, and then we're gonna get started on this cooling system, try and figure out what we're gonna do with this radiator because, well, it needs to be cold.
No, it doesn't. It snowed this morning.
Well, it did snow this morning. And if you're in need of a nice sweatshirt for this cool weather.
Not this one because it has paint on it and a hole for my mic. Genius idea, by the way.
And you're not selling your own clothes.
And I'm not selling my own.
You can go to crossthreadgarage.com and grab yourself some merch for this winter.
I know some of you guys are new to the channel, so you might not even know how I got my truck. After watching my dad struggle to build his truck, I decided I wanted one just like him. And lucky for me, our next door neighbor had parked this truck behind his barn back in 1975. So I sold my goats, earned some bucks, and then bought this truck. Oh, these are definitely standing pants, not bending pants. This little girl was built for the Civilian Conservation Corps and was part of rebuilding America after the Great Depression. And 5 months ago, we started tearing this thing down so I'd be ready to drive it by the time I got my license.
She already has her license, not ready to drive.
And this week, we're trying to fix the mistakes we made last week while trying to fix the mistakes we made the week before.
All right, now that you've got the rundown on the old 41 here, this cab is sitting way too high. The front clip is way too high. That gap back there will be filled when we actually get that bolted in. If you saw last week's episode, you know that. But we're not going to be content with that gap right there. We're going to drop this whole thing 2 inches by removing the extra spacers that we put in on the cab mounts because this ended up sitting on top of this cross member that basically holds our fuel tank in. So the back of this cab is actually where the only real rust in this cab is, right here, other than the corners, a little bit of rust in the corners. So we killed 2 birds with 1 stone, or in this case, we fixed 2 problems with 1 plasma cutter. We're gonna cut this out right here above this seam, and then on the inside here, what that's gonna allow us to do, it's gonna be right about here. We're gonna be able to actually just kind of plate from there to here and shelve that. So this whole bottom part right here that's all rusty will end up coming out. We'll still be able to use our mounting holes here. That's the first plan. Second plan is to patch in some of this floor right here. And you're gonna notice that by lowering this cab, Caitlin, we're gonna be running back into this cross member that we put in here last week. No, 3 weeks ago. That was supposed to be our original cab mount. It's sitting right here. Well, the fuel tank, you'll remember, sat right here under the seat. It was the seat base. Mm-hmm. So this is actually going to be too low now. So we're going to have to get this bowl out of here, which is fine because we need to patch here. We would need to patch that drain hole where the petcock went through from the fuel tank down to the fuel line. Like all that would need to be patched in. We might as well just make it flat and flush. Part of the strength in the floor that we lost with this rib right here being cut, we're going to fix by putting in this square tubing right across there. It's going to fit perfectly side to side. I had that in my scrap pile. That will allow us to bring the floor up. Mm-hmm. That'll strengthen that floor back up, but it will also give us something to mount our seat frame to.
Oh.
When we go to put our bucket seats back in here.
That's true.
So I measured the other day because I was curious. The front floor, the flat part of the floor in my 47 Chevy before the firewall starts angling up is 18 inches. From here to there is 18 inches. So we'll basically have as much floor space as I currently have in my 47. So these cab floors are going to get built back in here. Are we going to
have hanging pedals or?
No, the pedals are going to go through the floor right up here. So they're going to go down through the floor. Because basically this firewall and trans tunnel, that's all going to be built in probably 2 pieces that can be unbolted and taken out so that we can service all of this. But because it'll be installed that way, we don't want to put pedals, we don't want to hang pedals on that firewall and be constantly flexing that firewall in and out with the torque from the pedals. So we're going to do a frame-mounted brake and clutch master cylinder with pedals that pass through the floor.
And that'll give even
basically
more
like it had before. Well, it will give us more floor space, yes. The accelerator pedal is a drive-by-wire setup with the computer for this 7.3 Powerstroke. So that pedal that we have that kept on the shelf over there, that's going to have to be modified somehow. But that's the pedal that we're going to be using.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So tonight, this is, day 1 of probably 3 days worth of work that we're going to have in the next 2 weeks because our schedule is once again
basketball
full. So interesting little thing we learned here before we get in this. There's still a wood block sandwiched in this channel here and there. Those wood blocks were the mounting points for this cab when Ford made it. When I was trying to pry it out, and then I realized there seems to be a flat-headed screw in here. And sure enough, it is holding that block in. So we're going to pull these 2 wooden blocks out real quick. Just like that. There it is.
This is the first time these screws have been out of those blocks since they were first put in.
That wood was put under that truck in 1941. And like Caitlin's saying, it's actually got green paint on it. So it was put in there and then painted. That's pretty cool. I think you're right, Caitlin. That is neat. No such thing as rubber hockey puck bushings back in 41. They were all wood.
It's not rotted at all either.
That's true. It's not rotted at all. Those are worth keeping. That's kind of neat. Little history right there. All right, kiddo, you got a cutoff wheel on your grinder. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to follow right along the edge here. If you have to, favor the top flat part instead of the side here. But actually, if you want,
you trace it with the chalk.
that's what I was just gonna say. Let me just get you a line here. I just held that piece of soapstone right on the edge, and so Caitlin's gonna drop that all out of there, and that'll expose the cross member. If you haven't seen that from a previous episode, you'll see why we have to do that to get it down lower. So get a time lapse going here while Caitlin knocks that out, and we'll be right back. So I figure while Caitlin's cutting this floor out, I'd go ahead and answer a few questions that we saw in the comments from last week's episode. So yes, the cab is sitting square on the chassis, actually 5 13/16 distance from the frame to the outer B-pillar on both sides of the cab. Can we move the front axle? No, the front axle is not an axle. It's actually an independent front suspension, so moving the center line of the wheel to match the fender location really wasn't an option. Several of you suggested that if we had put the front clip on the cab and then found the cab mount locations, it would have been easier for us. And the problem with that is the gantry crane we were using wouldn't allow us to pick the cab up far enough to get the front clip over the engine. And so knowing that we were going to be going up and down and over and that engine and then pulling the chassis out and welding the cab mounts on and then putting it back, it actually was easier for me not to have the front clip on there and just use the measurements, which you saw that worked out really well for us. Plus the grill on the front of this was already broken and missing part of it, and the front clip is pretty flimsy. So I didn't want to risk tearing that front end apart or twisting something so far out of whack that it wasn't usable. So unless you're unknowingly measuring off of the wrong plane, which we did, measurements would normally suffice. At least they have for every other cab swap I've done so far. And lastly, why a diesel? Well, you got to remember, the only people who really hate diesels are the guys that never owned one, or the ones that owned a 6.5 or 6.2 GM, or a 6.0 or a 6.4 Ford, or a 7.3 IDI, or the LB7 Dirty Max, You know what? Never mind all that. What I'm saying is I cut my teeth mechanicking on diesel engines. I owned gas engines all my life until I was in my early 30s, never had any major repairs, but when I started buying diesel trucks, I had to work on all of them, all the time. Wait a jig. We have no more floor pan there. So what we're gonna do is...
I have plenty of space to do that.
I know.
I thought I did not have that much space.
Yeah, I thought, well, yeah, I thought that fuel tank, you can see the edge of the fuel tank right there. I thought it was a little bit closer.
Well, it's closer than it goes
But you
down.
can see the cross member that we put in there that would have been in the way once we get this set down. We'll get a piece of metal, a flat piece to just overlap here. And before you guys go talking about, don't, overlap metal. It is a normal thing to overlap, even plug weld metal. So we're going to weld that in so it's solid. And then we are going to get this piece in here real quick on top.
Oh.
Actually, I'm probably going to get that piece in tomorrow. So we'll get a paint stripper wheel out here and clean this all back to bare metal because there's still factory paint on this floor.
Where are we getting this metal from? Oh.
Right over there in my metal corner where I've got sheet metal sitting for
Those have been
years.
sitting there
Yeah.
forever.
We moved those here with us when we came from Colorado. That's actually what I built the firewall and trans tunnel for the 54 Chevy that we put on that 1-ton Dodge frame before we left Colorado. You know what? Before we start cutting the back of that out, I think I do want to get this floor solid because the last thing I want is this cab going like that, all wonky, because there are a couple of, I don't know what you'd call them, back straps. There's straps on the back of the cab here that kind of tie the back wall into the floor. And they kind of just come right down from the corner of the window here. So I don't want to go cutting all that stuff loose before I get this floor squared back up and solid, because it's kind of been bugging me that we've had this floor just kind of floating around in here with that trans tunnel piece cut out there. So we started late tonight. We got home late tonight. I knew we'd only have an hour or so here, and we got occupied with a few other things, including some conversation here in the garage. So
Who let me go with a water on this pattern?
what is that?
It's when we took the power washer. We're washing the dirt off.
No,
Yeah.
because if that was from the pressure washer, then it would be the red was on top of the orange paint. If that's lines from the pressure
No,
washer.
it wasn't. The red is very much under the orange.
Don't think so. The
Orange is peeling up.
That's all going to be covered by either the bed, a headache rack, or a toolbox when we're done, so you won't see any of that.
Oh.
Well, as you can see, we've got our new floor pan in here, and I'm just marking out the edges here to make sure that I've got all the paint and kind of rust and grime stripped away so that I can seam weld the edges of that. We've got some 3M seam sealer in a tube. We'll go from underneath and we'll actually seal that edge so that water can't get up underneath it. And up front here, we're going to end up having to kind of clamp this together. But I don't know. I'm still debating on whether or not I need to fill in this piece here first, kind of wrap that edge, or if we can just put that down and allow that, to be the thing. I don't know, you tell me, what should I do? Won't see it till after the video is published, but I'll at least know what I did wrong. That's the key to learning.
12 seconds later.
Well, I think I am going to go ahead. This is about 2. So if I got a piece that's 4 inches wide, I can bend it and trim it. It needs to be 11 inches wide, and then I can score the edges there and trim it back so it fits perfectly in between there. I think I'm going to use the old seat pan that we took out of here. And this is a nice flat spot here, easily 11 inches. Right there. Oh, actually, got a little drain right there. This was designed to drain out that hole if you got any. So let's see, we'll come up here. Right there. Right there. Or eyeball it. There's our 11 by 4 inch piece. I really think that because this trans tunnel and firewall are going to be removable, I want to get some structure back in this floor here. So I'm thinking if I had some 1x1 square tubing that I could come out the front, build a frame here, come right across in front of where we're patching in here, and then back up and over to kind of tie all that together, that these inside corners of the floor wouldn't be tempted to flex so much if they were seated on a frame that was built and tied in side to side. I don't know how that would work. I might end up kind of plug welding it across the floor here, and then bringing it back, maybe tying in something on top of the floor here across it. But I need to get it set down so that I can see how much room I've got to work around my slave cylinder there for the clutch. So outside of a welder, a torch, and a stack of cutoff wheels, I don't have much by way of metal fabrication tools. But what I do have are good friends, and I borrowed this from a friend of mine, this metal brake here. I'm going to go ahead and bend this piece. Already kind of sort of started. Had to adjust that a little bit, but I've got the piece I cut out of the middle, which you'd think, well, why don't you just weld that back in? Well, because I cut it out and then I trimmed a little more and then I trimmed a little more. So this piece actually doesn't fit back in there. What it does do is give me the profile I need. That might not work very well. I might have messed that up already. No such thing as a mess up with metal. You just beat it back flat. Give it a good stretch. So what we've got here, actually I need to mark the bottom side of this. So that's where I want to start my bend. It's not going to be a 90-degree bend, it's going to be gentle. So I've got a little bit of a gap here to allow me to kind of round that instead of put a hard 90 on it. Get a little bit of leverage here. Check that. Oh, I think a guy could work with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this underneath there and I'm going to scribe the sides so I know where to trim it off. Cut it off with a cutoff wheel. We will be in business. Why does this look like it's much harder? Am I bending to the wrong side of that? I am. I'm bending to this angle. I need to be bending to this angle. Great googly moogly. Be nice if I bolted this down to my workbench, which I haven't done yet. But I probably should. Still got a nice round edge on it. But I think, yep, we'll be much happier with that. It's such a mess in this garage right now. It's unbelievable how quickly, week to week, this thing just gets torn up. Earplugs and where are my gloves at? So, if I did my calculations right, and I hardly ever do. Oh. Okay, that's just prototype number 1. Idiot. All right, well, as you can see, prototype number 2 is in place, tacked in, and we're ready to go.
Wasting time, we're always gonna come back home.
All right, that is sufficiently welded. All right, we are back in the garage here, ready to work for about an hour until she goes to basketball practice. So school's done, work's not. I have got you set up to start welding here, kiddo. Bottom side of this has been painted. It's sitting in here. I tacked the corners just to hold it in place. She's going to go ahead and go through and stitch weld 2 or 3 inch sections all the way around there. I've actually got them marked with chalk. So I'm going to be using our MiG 200 here from Arc Captain. That is on top of our Lincoln welder that's currently just being used as a welding cart, because believe it or not, the Arc Captain is a better, easier welder. Turn your gas on. Gas is already on from when I stitched it. All right, grab your gloves.
Where my gloves at?
Over there behind the metal brake. Now that makes a proud dad. Look at that seam weld. They're not all that nice, but those two are sure nice, aren't they? All right. How much time do you have before practice?
40 minutes.
Until you need to leave? All right. What do you say we get the plasma cutter out, and I'll have you plasma cut the back of this cab out. Think we can do that?
Yeah, sure.
You're just gonna follow that body line. So just squeeze the trigger.
Wait, is this a guide or does it have to be?
This is just a guide to keep you the right distance away from the metal. So you just put it flush against the metal. Let this little wire guide run across that body line. You see this other wire here? This is the ground wire.
Okay.
So it's making an arc, an electric arc that melts the metal like a welder, except instead of it pooling and pushing through, that thing is blowing compressed air from the air compressor. So it's blowing it out and blowing all that slag metal out of the way.
Oh.
So it's cutting it.
Ready?
Yep. Slower.
Slower?
Can't run that fast.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I don't know how you got up, but now let's go in the cab, and I'm going to have you do the same thing behind the floor. All right, now with the air compressor off, hold on, let me explain what you're doing there. So you're going to run that along the back side of that rail that we're mounting the cab on. And what we're going to do is plate from the bottom there up to that back wall, and we'll just box that back in, get rid of all that rust, and that should give us the couple of inches we need to be able to drop the cab down.
Okay.
So go ahead.
What about the gas tank?
Good question. I was just looking at the back. I don't think you're over top of the gas tank. Let me look. Yeah, you are. So, can you see the gas tank through there? I mean, it's like several inches, like 5 or 6 inches below there.
Well. Okay.
Let's just do that with a cutoff wheel.
Are you kidding?
So go to the other side. Go to the other side.
Can I cut this?
No, we'll cut that with a cutoff wheel too.
But it's right here. Why can't we do it now?
Because this won't cut us clean through. This is pressed two-sided steel.
They already cut through it already.
Oh wait, that's not a box. Go ahead and go ahead and cut through that.
This is literally the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's like a beam.
I don't know if we can just snag that out of there. Pretty sure there's going to be a couple of little corners that are still connected somehow. See, like that right there.
Where's a hammer?
No, get the saws
This will
off.
definitely come out.
It's still connected by like that much metal. So we've got just right down here in the corner where we can't get it cut with the plasma cutter or the wire wheels. So just gonna snip it here. What is going on there? Get it? You get it? She got it.
You messed up right here.
She gone. Question now is that fuel tank going to be in our way?
Of course, it probably will be.
Well,
That was a really nice plasma cutter.
as far as plasma cutting goes for your first time ever, was it easy?
Yeah, like butter.
Our friends over at Art Captain sent us that, as well as that MiG 200 welder, and you can get yours at the link below using the promo code on the screen.
Look at that green.
And we'll get a little bit of a kickback and commission on that. It'd be nice if help the channel out. But I'm telling you guys right now, as far as affordable garage equipment goes, like I can't afford to buy a decent bead roller or a decent metal brake, but these things are a few $100, and they're definitely worth having around in the garage. The best part is Art Captain has agreed to do a giveaway to one of our subscribers of a MiG 200 welder. That's right. If you're subscribed to this channel, when we hit 10,000 subscribers, which we're hoping we can do by the end of the year, we're pretty close. So make sure you hit that subscribe button today. But when we do hit 10,000, Art Captain is going to be giving away one of these to one of our subscribers. Now, rules are going to be released in an upcoming video. But for now, all you need to know is you need to be subscribed to this channel. So make sure you do that today before you're done with this video. Here's where I'm worried now. We need to bring this. We've got enough space here.
Sorry.
But do we have a 2 inches to come down here to the fuel tank?
I can see my breath in here. Did you see that?
I did not. I can usually only smell your breath.
Get out of here. I just remembered I still have that coffee.
So basically this rib right here, I think is going to come down and touch the top of this fuel tank. So we're going to come in here and just notch up and over and back down. And that'll give us a little bit of room to clear that tank when we set this cab down here over the frame. Well, I thought I had the camera on, but I didn't. I got this piece cut out. Actually has some pitted rust holes here, so probably okay that we cut that out anyways. But I'm feeling much better about this, actually. A lot better. So we're almost done. I know it doesn't feel that way for you guys, but I'm looking at this thing going, we're getting our standalone engine harness back sometime next week. We're going to try and figure out a cooling system on this video. Next episode is going to be firewall and trans tunnel and trying to figure out what we're doing with our pedals and pedal assembly and all that stuff. We're not that far away from trying to figure out how to make our doors latch well and driving this thing down the road. Oh, brakes, tires, wheels. Rust protection on the cab floor, sound deadening interior. We got a few things. We got a few things ahead of us. But we are making good progress this week, and I'm feeling better about it. So, yeah, I think I'm going to get that cleaned up real quick off camera here. And then, man, I don't know. I've been inside all day, but my lips feel like they're sunburned. I don't know why that would be, but... Anyways, hang tight, guys. We're almost there. All right, Caitlin, we are finally getting ready to set this cab for the 3rd time, and in preparation for that, I went for a run this morning. Not because I'm trying to get in shape, I just knew that if I started my day by running, it couldn't possibly get worse. So I've gone ahead and cut the radius out of the corners here. So all we need to do is do a straight cut with a cutoff wheel to connect, and then connect here, and then connect there. And we'll have a nice radius corner, 2 inches higher than the current cut, which should allow us then to connect
Can we use
front
the
clip to the
plasma
cab.
cutter?
No, I don't want to use the plasma cutter because the plasma cutter leaves slag on the edges, and the cutoff wheel will be much cleaner. So I think I can lift the cab, and you can grab the spacers out from underneath it. And we'll just set one side down and then the other. How do you think about that?
Sure.
Door latch is good. Cab must be sitting square. All right, hey,
What?
I'm gonna pick up right here on this side.
Okay.
I left that light in there. And you're gonna need to go from underneath, knock those spacers out. Bolts are already out. And then I'll set it back down, okay?
What?
We are gonna put a little isolating pad in there, but not 2 inches of hockey pucks. So Are you ready?
Yeah. Where is it at? You're moving the cab everywhere.
Well, the first ones are right here.
I don't even see them. Ow.
And the other ones are back here on this block.
Okay.
What if you, let me have your phone so you don't crush it. What if you lay on your back? You can reach up there and get it.
Where's the thing?
What thing?
A roll thing.
I don't know. Over there. While Caitlin's trying to figure out how to get these out, let me ask you guys a question.
Whoa!
I spent part of the day organizing that corner of the garage.
Hey, where is everything?
I know. I moved it. There's so much space.
There's so much space here.
Yeah. Put in an extra shelf I'd had sitting out in the driveway for a while.
Oh, I was just thinking about how we needed a place to put all. How did you get this dirty already?
Well, it's got fingerprints on it, and then it was dusty in here, and then the dust stuck to the static. New face guard we got there. So what I was going to say is, I need you guys to answer a question for me. This is a serious question. I need an answer right now.
Real
Comment
serious.
it below. Is there such a thing as a lost dog? My dog, Trigger, ran away a couple nights ago, got out, front door was left a crack open, and he popped it open with his nose. Went on a little jaunt, and here's my theory.
Jaunt?
A jaunt. A little walk.
Okay.
A little walkabout for our friends in Australia. Here's my theory. There's no such thing as a lost dog. Just a dog that gets interrupted on its way back home by a well-meaning person. In this case, a neighbor who kept our dog in its laundry room overnight, like 300 yards from his house, because, well, they felt sorry for this little lost dog. So, you guys tell me, is there such a thing as a lost dog? I just think if you leave them alone long enough, they're gonna go home. That's
how
that's been my
all the
experience.
movies went. Oh my goodness, what time is it?
Late. Super late.
It's 11 o'clock.
Is it 11 o'clock already?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
You're gonna knock that thing off there. It is 11 o'clock. Holy schmoly. All right,
Ow!
let's get this done quick. You see them?
Why does it smell like dog food under here?
Don't know. Can you get it?
Uno momento. Don't drop the cab. Lower it.
What about the back?
Oh, right. Where are those at?
On top of the cab mount that we put in there.
All
What
right,
do you think
set
they
it down and then lift it back up.
Caitlin,
I see them. Ow, ow, ow. My head's in the thing.
they're right here.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Okay, come back out here. You don't even need to be under the truck.
My bad.
All right, ready? Got them?
Yeah.
Okay, other side.
Hold it, Wilma.
Really like to know why that door won't latch.
Huh?
You ready?
Yeah.
What was that?
The washer?
Are you getting them out?
They're out.
Okay, what about the back?
Okay. Take me with you. I forgot about the back.
Okay.
I'm so tired. Now.
We gotta locate those holes.
We have to locate the holes again?
Yep. Shouldn't take.
It shouldn't take too
Very
long. That's
long.
what we've said for the past 3 times. Dun, 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 dun.
All right, nobody panic. Nobody panic, okay? It's just
Panicking.
it's just a little bit of alignment issue. We actually know, just from looking at this, the cab is sitting too far forward. So I told you we'd put some isolators back in there under those cab mounts. Well, the front's gonna go back up. And when that happens, this whole front clip will go, and we'll get our gap back in the front, and this will be close, and that'll be closer, and this will look so much better. So much better. So let's get the front clip attached. That way when we move the cab, we're actually moving everything and we can find the right space that we need to get this all aligned properly. Okay? So those 6 bolts I've been talking about for a month that we need to put in here. 1, 2, 3. They're sitting on the table over there. Let's get it done. All right, we've got our hardware here. Caitlin's got one of the sets of washers and nuts in here. And what we're gonna be doing is running those bolts through these holes here, and then there's one further down inside of here that we're gonna have to reach. Actually gonna have to reach coming up through the bottom here to put that in. But I'm gonna go ahead and get under the fender here and feed them through, and then we're gonna line this fender up from the top to the bottom. You can see this fender, because it's got this hinge point here, AKA it's torn in 2. We're gonna have to go from the top to get it lined up and then push the bottom in 1 bolt at a time to move that down. And that's what's gonna fill this big gap in the back here when we swing that back in. So, red eye?
Ready.
Ready, okay. You know, it's the week of Thanksgiving, and as we prepare to spend time with family and friends this Thursday, I'm reminded of an opportunity here to just share a few things that I'm thankful for. I want to say I'm thankful for you guys. If it weren't for you guys watching and subscribing and interacting with us, encouraging us when we make mistakes, and we wouldn't be doing what we're doing, at least not in the same way that we're doing it. What we have here is really something unexpected. And so I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do this with you guys.
I'm super thankful for my dad because on top of like all the stuff that he does for YouTube and me, he also has a full-time job, plus all the stuff that he does at the church, plus any other stuff that his work has him do. And he also like helps take care of the rest of our family. And like he still finds a way to somehow like edit all of our videos and still teach me how to do this and still keep a pretty patient attitude. So I'm really thankful for that. I'm also super duper thankful for my mom because she like puts up with like the stuff that we buy. Like we're constantly having packages shipped to our house for all of the stuff that we have to buy for the trucks and stuff. So she's like putting up with that, and she's also putting up with me and my dad being out in the garage a lot. And sometimes we're not in for dinner, sometimes we're late for dinner, or sometimes we don't have dinner, even when she's worked really hard to like make it. So I'm really thankful for my parents.
I also want to say, obviously, I'm thankful for my family. You guys see Caitlin and I, every once in a while you see Gracie or my wife here in the garage, and I'm obviously thankful for them. I'm really exceptionally thankful for what this project has afforded me in terms of time with Caitlin here in the garage as she develops into a young woman and learns a work ethic that is being passed to her in the same way that it was passed to me when I was 11 years old, and my dad put me to work like a rented mule mowing lawns in our community, which eventually turned into a small business my brother and I ran that helped pay for our school. So I'm thankful for the opportunity and the privilege, and I'm exceptionally thankful for how close Caitlin and I have grown. A little over 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, God did something really unexpected in our lives when he moved our family from Colorado here to Northern Ohio. If you're new to the channel, you may not know this, but I was pastoring a church there in Southern Colorado. Would have been content to do that the rest of my life. It was all I ever hoped to do or planned to do. Wasn't looking for anything different. But God had other plans, and he's brought me into a ministry assignment that necessitated a move here to Ohio, which was really quite difficult for our family. And I feel like this project, this channel, has allowed me an opportunity to grow with Caitlin in ways that I wouldn't have otherwise had, because the work that I'm doing now with the ministry that I work with has me traveling so much. I'm responsible for all of our ministries going on in North America, Asia, and South Pacific. So you guys have heard me talk about traveling in Nepal or India or Japan or Guam, Canada, or Mexico. I mean, all over the place all the time. And that's because I've got about 140 missionaries in 16 countries across 19 different time zones that are involved in church planting and Bible translation and theological education and running hospitals and schools and doing prison ministry or campus ministry here, both in the States and abroad. And it's an incredibly diverse opportunity, and I'm grateful to the Lord for it. And I say I'm grateful to the Lord for it because I know that none of this would be possible without him. He has been so good to us. And in fact, that reminds me of one of my favorite Bible verses, Psalm 136, verse 1. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his love endures forever. And it is his great love that he has loved us with that I'm probably most thankful for this Thanksgiving season. Because if it weren't for what Jesus Christ did at the cross, when he died suffering a death, not just a physical death, but spiritually bearing the wrath of God for the sin that I've committed, if it weren't for his substitutionary sacrifice, where he, the eternal Son of God, having left eternity and stepped into time and space, he lived as a man, he suffered as a man, he was tempted as we were, yet without sin, so that he could stand as the singularly sufficient and necessary sacrifice for the forgiveness of our sins. And because Christ did that for me and for you, when we turn to him in repentant faith, trusting that his work there at the cross alone is sufficient to save us and to provide for us not just the forgiveness of our sins before a holy God, but also the securing of our eternal soul, then we have this hope and promise both for this life and the life to come, that we are his and nothing can separate us from the love of God. And so we're thankful to the Lord because his love endures forever. So I'm just double checking my measurements before we take that box or that radiator out of the box and try and jam it up in here and bend something or turn a fin over. Because the last episode, actually the last two episodes, I felt like I was doing math after being dropped on my head.
How do you drop yourself on your own head?
Not drop myself onto my head. Like I've been dropped on my head.
That's not what you said.
Pretty sure it is what I said. All right. It's just going to have to happen. By the way, check this out.
Check this.
Look at this over here. What do you guys think about that?
Oh.
Not that. This right here. Close that door.
You closed it yourself.
Now, I don't know how you guys feel about the way this looks, but I am really liking it better than I did the other ones, that's for sure. If you do take a look at the picture I'm going to throw on the screen here, that CCC truck from the 1940s, look at the way the wheels are sitting inside of that arch. Okay? They're tucked way back inside of here. And it's obvious that this opening is not actually round.
Really?
When you have something round inside of it and you realize, okay, I got 2 inches here, I got 3 3/4, 3.5 inches there. I got 3 3/4 inches there. I got 2.5 inches there. Like, it's not perfectly round. So I think this is actually the best we could do, at least with this setup. Now, we're not going to be using these wheels and tires. So actually, when we do get a set of wheels and tires on here, we're going to be able to offset, this, get these tucked in further, do a little bit bigger tire. But what I know for sure right now is with that center of this wheel and this size tire on it, I've got 2-inch clearance on the front, 2.5-inch clearance on the back, and more than enough clearance on top for the suspension to travel when we're using it. So I'm going to say I'm happy.
I'm also happy.
Not thrilled, but I'm happy. Now, you're asking yourself, what about the other side with the torn fender? Well, okay, I'll show you that if I have to. Not as happy.
Or thrilled.
Or thrilled. But what we do have here, if you'll remember, if you watched a couple episodes ago, we've got a hand-sized dent here that once we work that out and actually get a brace in here back to the frame to hold that fender from flopping around when we're driving, we're going to be able to put this pretty much anywhere we want it. The same thing's true with the back here. While we have the fender attached to the cab, there's still quite a bit of work that can be done to flex this and bring it in. And there's a brace that runs from this bottom bolt out here to this outside of this fender, and it's currently broken. So I think once we get that line back up, and if we can set that fender right there like that, boy, we're going to be real happy with that. So that's a problem for another day. What about the radiator? Let's see about that. So what we've got here, guys, is a nice aluminum radiator from our friends over at Cold Case. Our next episode, because it's the week of Thanksgiving already, I'm taping this on Tuesday. This is going to publish tomorrow on Wednesday. So our next episode is going to be figuring out the cooling system and the core support that we just didn't have time to get to because, as I mentioned earlier, I think a couple of days ago when we were recording, we've legitimately had 3 days in the garage over the course of the last 2 weeks. And I'm going to guess that this project, getting this cab down where it was, or getting it down where it is now, we probably don't have 6 total hours involved. We've basically been working nights after basketball games and practice and work. So that's where we're at. This is what we're doing. We're going to test fit this just to make sure that it goes in here. Some of you may not be aware of this. We cut the bottom of this grill out because the grill was just trashed. Half of it was missing. But we had one of our subscribers or viewers, I hope you're subscribed, reached out to me and said, "Hey man, I've got an extra grill." And I said, "For what?"
For free?
Not for free, but he does have a grill that we're going to do some trading on. And so we have a replacement grill coming for this. And you'll remember, maybe, the part we cut out actually is going to extend about 3.5 inches further than this existing grill here. So what I'd like to do is see if we can slide this radiator up in between this cross member, or this sway bar, and the front of that grill, and see how high we can get it, if it's going to be totally behind that grill or not. We do have a bumper that's still going to go on here, and we've got all kinds of other stuff to go in here, including a intercooler for the turbo. So who knows where that's going to go? I don't know. But let's grab that radiator out of there and just gently put it in here and see what we are working with, okay?
Okay.
So that'd be your cue to pick it up. This radiator is not for a 41 Ford. This radiator from Cold Case is out of a mid-60s Blazer, I think.
You said a Bronco.
Bronco, sorry, you're right, Bronco. So at least it's still Ford.
It's cold.
But the inlet and outlet, here, turn it around here.
That's a nice weld. I could do that.
But the inlet and outlet are the right diameter. They're in the right location, and we have the trans cooler hookup on the bottom there. So this needs to go underneath.
Oh. Hey. That's not going to work.
No, it's not. We're going to have to take that grill out of there.
What?
We're going to have to take the grill out. I know that I have not demonstrated competency with a tape measure recently, but I do know this. Our width here and here, inside of this mounting flange here, is actually going to fit inside of the hood space here. I do know that the height from about here to here should put us in close proximity to the bottom of our new grill. And I know nothing more than that. Oof. Whoops. Did I break it?
Oh.
Nope. We're good. So, nice aluminum radiator with nowhere to go. We're going to fix that next week. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe for a chance to win that Arc Captain MiG-200 welder. And of course, don't miss out on all the excitement next week when we come back to this project and
All the excitement.
beat our heads against the wall one more time for your entertainment.